He's quiet on the set. Yo, it's the old heads. I'm King Bear Sadat. I'm here with Theodore Kirkland, author of Spirit and Soul: The Odyssey of a Black Man in America, Volume 1 and 2, available now. We've been talking about a few different things. We just started talking about poverty money and the idea of how you had run for the head of security for the Board of Education, but they didn't want you in because they said you were too good of a relationship. They kept you out. Sorry, they kept you out because...
I take them to court on that one.
Nice. How did that, did it come out in your favor?
It was interesting. Court was interesting. Federal court, went to federal court. They brought a judge up from downstate. There's no federal judge here handling it. They shipped downstate and brought a judge up. And at the end of the trial, he said, you have been discriminated against. He says that I'm going to give you a little bit of money, but I'm not going to give you the job. So I said,
that's interesting.
Well, Your Honor, why not? Why can't I, get the job? He says, you have a better job now. At the time, I was on the parole board, and I said, but so if I wanted that job, why can't I make the choice? He said, you're not going to make the choice. You are not going to get that job.
Wow.
And they were willing to pay that, to keep me from getting that job. I mean, to show you how important poverty was, funds were.
Right, and again, I wanted to speak to that.
How important it was to keep us in a certain spot.
That's what I just wanted to say clearly when you were saying that they didn't want you to be close to the kids because you had too close of a relationship, specifically meaning that you might inspire these kids out of the poverty.
Yeah.
Right, and so much so that the judge even said, no, the system is making sure you're not going to get the job.
There was a system operating together, okay? No, you're not going to get that job. So I was kind of angry, and I talked to my lawyer because I was ready to appeal the case. He says, no, I doubt it. Even if we appeal it, you'd get it.
Wow.
So I said, okay.
And you started talking earlier about how...
That's in my book, too, by the way. Yeah.
You started talking about how we don't understand politics. Black folks don't understand politics, and that there's certain monies that are involved into getting into politics. But I have a question for you. So if someone's inspired, I've often thought about in some sort of wanting to make a difference world. Like if you do get into politics, are you able to get elected, one, and not be in anybody's pocket? And secondly, if you're part of a legislative body of some sort, are you able to get things done without owing people favors and things of that nature? I'm just wondering.
No, you owe some favors. you take, for example, there are, if you take it locally, let's take it locally here. And we get down to county legislators, for example. There's so many, it's only, I forgot the number, I forgot it over time. So they say there may be something like 12 of them.
I was going to say 13 or 12, something like that, right.
You have to get the majority in order to get something passed. Regardless of where you are, you got to get the majority of where you are. But, and in order for you to get anything passed. So, and the deck is against you. The system is against you because, for number one, I don't remember any time recently where a black actually got a piece of legislation submitted or passed.
In the county.
I don't think black people realize that that's why they elect legislators to the council, to the county legislature, to the state senate, to the state assembly. They're all legislators, meaning they're supposed to put legislation in that's going to help their people. To go there and sit on their fat behinds, you understand, for 25, 30 years and get a good pension is not what they're supposed to be doing. But we allow them that.
Right.
And so therefore you get no real legislation passed that's going to help you. But this system, it's not easy. This system was made for white people, not for us. And so you have to be smart, you have to be educated, you have to understand your opponent, and you have to be proud of who you are in order to get anything through.
So is there a way for someone to be a good person in politics? Is that possible?
Well, look, I like to think that some of them are good people, and they're not doing nothing.
Okay, instead of just being a good person, is it possible to do good in office, is what I'm asking, ultimately. To be about the people, the work of the people.
Well, we think that, let's give you an example. Around 1941, Roosevelt met with a group of blacks, about, I think it was like 4 of them. And the reason for the meeting was that World War II was in progress now. But blacks were not allowed to work in defense plants at that time.
Okay.
So he met with the head of the NAACP. He also met with A. Philip Randolph, and he met with 2 other blacks, I believe. I think one was Urban League, and I can't think of the other one. And A. Philip Randolph, who's the radical of the group, he said to the President of the United States that if you don't open up these plants for black people, I will have on the steps of the White House, I think it was 500,000 people or something like that, he said, or 300,000, whatever it was. And he left the room. And the President then turned and asked Walter White, who was the Secretary of the NAACP, you think he's serious? Walter said, I don't know, Mr. President, but I wouldn't want to take a chance at it. So from that conversation and from that threat, Roosevelt opened up jobs in defense plants. Curtis Wright here, where my granddaddy was able to go to work here. My mother-in-law went to work in Curtis Wright, all because of who?
Roosevelt.
No.
Oh, because of, I'm sorry.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, forgive me. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but I got
You got the drift now? See,
yeah,
we don't
I got
follow the
twisted
track.
though.
We give credit to people who should not have credit.
What's the gentleman's name again?
Huh?
The gentleman's
A.
name?
Philip Randolph.
A. Philip Randolph.
Look
Thank
him
you.
up.
Yes.
He's a radical. A. Philip spoke
Man,
at the March on Washington, and A. Philip talked about construction in this country, that some places you have to organize and go close them down. See, if A. Philip would have closed down New York State, because we don't have they don't have blacks working on construction. He would have shut them down, but you don't have the blacks here who want to do that. They'd rather sit back and want somebody else to do it for them.
That reminds me of
See, that project up here at Medical Corridor shouldn't have never got off the ground. It should have never got off the ground. What they're doing in the Fruit Belt shouldn't have never got off the ground. But now, A. Philip, that was his strategy. He was the sleeping car porter. He organized the sleeping car porters at one point. Right. So they probably heard the name. Sometimes you have to take action. Nothing is going to be given that's worthwhile. We're still sitting back waiting for someone to give us. You got to fight for every doggone thing you want, and plus some. Shut them down.
Okay, so speaking of which, you were talking about how, talking about Carl Palladino. Carl Palladino is a developer in Buffalo, billionaire supposedly. I'm not sure how much he's worth, but he has a lot of money. And that he was accused of having racist rhetoric. I remember there was some emails.
Who does it?
I just want to tell the people, in case they don't know, as people, somebody may be watching this across the country may not know what Carl Palladino was. He also had some emails out going about saying some racist things about the president. And when he was a member of the school board, I jokingly said that Carl Palladino is a member of the school board because he wanted to make sure that no black kid ever achieves anything through education in the offices of going to Buffalo Public Schools, which is a joke. It's not true per se. Hopefully it's not true. But that he had a lot of racist rhetoric and they were getting arguments with him over his racist rhetoric and whether or not he should be on the board. And you were saying that he was a distraction from actually doing the work of educating the children.
Sure.
I just wanted to go back to that.
If you take the members of the board that are black, and every time someone says something about it, black people that they don't like, they take their mind or their focus off of doing the job that they're supposed to be doing and concentrate on that. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what you call diversion. Diversionary tactics are used in the military all the time. You do things where you make the enemy look the other way while you're doing this. Good bank robbers sometimes, they used to have two groups here, the ones who in the back of the building might make a whole lot of noise, so everybody runs to the back of the building and look out the window, and the real crooks come in the front door.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It throws you off track. See, and if in fact, if the word nigger upsets black people, so be it. They may upset Italians. You got I got a whole list of derogatory terms
Right.
used against every ethnic group in America.
Sir.
We're the only one that really gets totally upset because of a word when it's spoken by whites. We use it every day ourselves. We don't get upset. So it's not the word, it's who speaks it. We want to be loved by the slave master's children too much. That's the problem. You want to be loved by the slave master's children. So don't call me you hurt my feelings. So, if you read my book, and I cannot tell you what I said and how I solved my problem on the air. But if you read my book, you'll get the drift.
Yes, sir.
You see, and I never had them come back for a repeat performance.
It's specifically those stories that make me really believe that that's what those are the things that would be epic on film. If the power of seeing those things happen would be very strong. I mean, it's you handling things, but basically fighting fire with fire is basically the way you dealt with it.
What power? The system. This is a white political system. They understand blacks better than blacks understand themselves. Back in the 1800s, they had a system where they realized that black people loved to see blacks with a title. Now, mind you, a title. So every party, regardless of whether it was Republican or Democrat, would make sure they had one black on their ticket. They'd give him commissioner of the toilet or something. It don't make no difference as long as he got a good title. They did this for years. You see what I'm saying? They still do that, okay? It still functions, and we get happy. We get happy because Obama became president. I was hoping the guy wouldn't win because I knew this would happen to black people. They get complacent and so forth and so on. They think he's really doing some things he can't do. You see, number one, it cost almost $1 billion to get him elected. Did you have money? I mean, let's face it.
And where did the money come from?
And it's like going to a horse race, and you're sitting and you're up in the bleachers or whatever, and in the pen over there, horses, and you got black, whites, all kind of different color horses. There's black horse. Yeah. And the horses take off running, and we cheering for that black horse. Hey, win. And the final analysis, when he wins, we didn't bet on him.
What did we win? Yeah.
The white folks walk away with all the money, the ones who betted on him anyway.
Right.
So, the realness of where people don't talk about that. We get caught up on a couple things as black folks. I heard someone put it this way once, and I read it someplace, and they said blacks were sold Jesus.
Right.
They sold Jesus to us. We got hold of Jesus, and we ain't went no further than that. Jesus will resolve all your problems.
Oh, was it D.L. Hughley who was talking about that? Or was that? 'Cause I just heard D.L. Hughley talking about that, and I heard Michael Eric Dyson talking about it too recently. But again, we're going to take another break. This is Old Heads. I'm here with Theodore Kirkland, author of Spirit and Soul, Odyssey of a Black Man in America, volumes 1 and 2. This is the Old Heads. I'm King Bear Sadat. We'll be back in a minute.